We are likely just a few minutes away, maybe a little more than that, from Mr. Irrelevant. The New York Jets with the 257th pick in this draft, currently sitting at 251, the 49ers. We've been, thanks for checking back in with us, stepped away for a little while because the Jets had forever and a day till their next pick. And, had to get some write ups done on the guys they'd already taken. The Quantres, Diggers, you're talking two sentences. Look, I'm not going to make a bunch of stuff up about a guy. I haven't seen him. But as we said, it was a need. Weird thing, though, to think about with this draft, what the New York Jets are in the middle of doing. There is a very real chance, and I tweeted this out a little while ago. There is a very real chance that for all the talk about rebuild the line and build the trenches and all the injuries last year, and they had a million injuries and 14 different lineups and this, that, and the other. Um, there's a chance they will draft more running backs than offensive linemen. They have right now it's 2-1, right? And I'm the guy people got on me because I didn't like the Fashanu pick. Glenn, don't you understand the O line was hurt? Yeah, and that's why I wanted multiple linemen taken in this class. Could still happen, but who are you getting at Mr. Irrelevant? I will say, last time I looked, he was there. I've been looking away from the screen while I've been writing, so I may have missed some picks. I'm going to look at best available real quick. And again, if we're talking about a team, close that up. If we're talking about a team that's going to be going to a power scheme, okay, look, Javian Cohen is still there. Dylan Terraman took him in our mock, our Jet Nation mock. The Miami offensive guard would take him in a heartbeat. Bo Braid, a guy that I thought he'd get picked, and it looks like he may not. And if Bo Braid doesn't get picked, I hope to hell that he's going to be a UDFA for the Jets. Julian Pearl, another lineman, he's listed as a guard. I'm not sure if he's going to be a guard or a tackle. KT Leviston, still out there. But the guy that I was looking at, did he go? Nope, there he is. Keaton Bills, guard from Utah. If you're going to go to a power scheme, this is a guy that'll knock you back. Tons of power in his hands, good, strong lower half. I think Keaton Bills would be a nice option. Nick Garagulio from South Carolina, another solid lineman on the interior. Matthew Jones, God, I haven't watched him in forever. Honestly, I can't. I remember watching him. Can't recall what I thought of him. Ohio State product though, couldn't go wrong there with if you gamble on an interior guy. I would prefer, someone that a little higher, a little more highly thought of. Carson Barnhart, Michigan. If I'm not mistaken, he moved around a bit. He can play a little guard, little tackle. 17 games at right tackle, 9 at left tackle, 3 at guard. So that I tweeted about him, I think a month or two ago, saying I liked him as a late option because of his versatility. But listen, it might not be an offensive lineman at all, which is absolutely bizarre. Frank Crum, who everybody remembers from the combine, had a big combine. He's still out there. So there are some options. We're at pick 253 on this, according to NFL Network. We can look and see if any of these picks are coming out early. Does not appear to be the case. But what are we thinking? Thanks for coming in, Matthias. Tell you what, if not for the fact I had to write those pieces up and the Jets didn't have an hour and a half, 2 hour gap, I would have liked to have done the whole thing. But with no picks for that long of a stretch, and you knew they weren't trading up, you knew they weren't trading back in. But it's mixed emotions for me on this one, folks. The two backs, the lack of linemen, not loving that. Not loving that at all. Pick 254 is in. That's the Rams. So these picks keep coming in, but they're taking their sweet time about publishing them or announcing them. Cornelius Johnson, Michigan, nice pick. Big play receiver. He's one of those guys that seem to always make big plays in big spots. And those are the kind of guys you want, especially, you're taking a late round pick. honestly a little surprised he's going this late. I thought he would be a Senior Bowl guy, and he wasn't, which was a little bit surprising. Here we go. Connor Hughes says the Jets are up next. We gonna go D line, O line? What do we got? Final pick. Come on. Let's see. Let's just go to best overall remaining players. Who we got? That's all right. So everyone. Did I go back? No, let's go back to page 1. Here we go. Who would I take? Throwing my 2 cents here. A few options. Like I said, I would go Javian Cohen, let him work at guard. Gabe Hall out of Baylor might be a nice choice. Bo Braid, who I mentioned is a possible UDFA. That wouldn't be bad. Nelson Caesar, edge rusher. Don't sleep on him. Keith Randolph, DT for Illinois. Fabian Love at FSU. Let's see if the Jets. Jets are on the clock with the final pick. Let's see what we're doing. I'm going to trade it. Joe, you cannot trade down. It's not allowed. Let's see. Chiefs own the league. Yeah, they pretty much do. They pretty much do at this point. I mean, when you're the reigning Super Bowl champ, many times Super Bowl champ, yeah, you get to make that claim. Nothing ever came back on that Chiefs tampering thing, did it? The league kind of let that go. Yeah, Cohen, again, I agree. I felt like kind of an idiot. Dylan took him in our mock, and I kind of forgot, and then went off and watched him sort of independently, and then messaged Dylan. I was like, hey, this guy's pretty good. And Dylan was like, yeah, that's why I took him in my mock. Completely forgot. To be fair, it had been almost 2 whole days since that happened. And there goes Leviston, the tackle at K-State. Noticed him watching Cooper Beebe and tweeted out about it at the time. I said, hey, I know we all like Cooper Beebe, but has anyone noticed the guy playing next to him? KT Leviston had himself a hell of a game. I forget who it was against, but liked him ever since that point as a potential day 3 pick. Again, especially if we're building the trenches and fixing the line, because that was the plan after all. Kalen King, Penn State corner, goes to Green Bay at 255. Let's see. Yep, there we go. Still on the clock. Nothing from Connor, who's been, again, I said it the other day, tip of the cap to Connor Hughes. He went out and apparently got himself like 1 billion sources, or one really good one, and he's on these picks before anybody. Oh, this is the Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Let's see. I'd be there's so much offense in this draft. I'd be surprised if they don't. Here we go. Jalen Key, safety out of Alabama. Jalen Key, I think I do have something on him. Let's see. I mean, it was a safety. I was hoping for Bo Braid, but you go with Key, who was, it would appear, not anywhere in the top anything in ESPN's best remaining. Let's see if he's on. If you just narrow it down to safety 4, 5, 6. He was per ESPN the 7th best remaining safety. Let's see what ESPN has to say about Jalen Key, 6'1", 208, primarily single high. Can play slot at linebacker depth. Runs with tight ends. Shows good instincts. Frame and length to compete at the catch point. Strong punch, taking on blockers. Chases with good effort. So there you have it. Jets go safety. The New York Jets officially drafted more running backs than offensive linemen in a rebuild the wall. We got to find a way to cope with all these injuries. I listen. I'm not sitting here saying I expected them to take 5 offensive linemen, but 2. Like I thought 2. Tackle and an interior guy. No interior guy. So that is what it is. There is at the moment, with the need to sign this draft class, the Jets have essentially no money. Again, they can rework Quinnen Williams, something like that. They can, as I said earlier, you can not rework, but restructure Williams. I would imagine you want DJ Reed to hang around for a while. You give him a new contract, and perhaps a new contract for Hassan Reddick with low cap numbers, low year one cap hits, and save yourself a bunch of money. I mean, not a bunch, but again, getting to that point where you have a little breathing room during the year. And if there are any free agents, because this is where, in these couple days after the draft, teams might go out and go hunting for somebody. But some solid guys as UDFAs. My 2 cents, if I'm the Jets, checking out, looking at what's out there. Again, Gabe Hall certainly would bring him in. Cohen, who I just mentioned, would bring him in. Bo Braid for sure. If they're looking for a practice squad tight end who is a hell of a blocker, I would look at Brevin Spann-Ford. I thought he'd get taken. Nelson Caesar. You're gonna have a hard time if you're the Jets convincing undrafted free agent edge rushers to come play for you because you ain't making this roster. And like guys want to go to places where they have a chance to stick. Who else do we have? Keith Randolph, who I mentioned earlier. Keaton Bills, the Utah guard I mentioned a few minutes ago. Would absolutely take a look at him. Anybody else? Oh, LaDeatrick Griffin. I don't think he went. Wide receiver. His name will pop up here in a minute as I scroll. Again, any safeties, right? Like bring in safeties, D linemen. Josh Proctor should be a consideration. Crum, who I mentioned. Miles Murphy, DT out of North Carolina. I'm surprised he didn't go. I thought he would be a pick. Ethan Driscoll. There's one I like. Didn't realize he hadn't gone yet. Ethan Driscoll, tackle out of Marshall. Great torque, good athleticism. I would absolutely bring him in. He'd be one of my top guys, but what the hell do I know, right? We're all just guessing, whether it's a fan, a blogger, or whatever, a general manager. Everyone's guessing. We're watching and guessing. Andrew Coker. There's LaDeatrick Griffin, the 50th ranked player, who was not taken. Who else do we have? We'll go through some more names. Dylan Johnson, Washington running back. I don't think the Jets need to bring in another running back. Johnny Dixon, Penn State corner. Surprised he didn't go. Potential nickel guy. Jeremy Flax. He's way too big. He doesn't strike me. Andrew Rame, interior guy. Bring him in. Let's see. Any other names? Because it can go deep. Sometimes you see guys, the teams are bringing guys that aren't on anybody's list anywhere. I would bring in another quarterback. Sam Hartman didn't go. I would take him. And we saw Joe Milton went to the Pats. So 2 quarterbacks there in New England. Kalen DeLoach, he would be another guy near the top of my list. Super athletic linebacker, ran in the 4.4s. Type of guy you can use in, as I've mentioned in the past, in spy situations. Tavion Robinson, I thought, was a solid player at Kentucky, wide receiver. Mima Jongmeta from Wisconsin, linebacker, slightly undersized. Hang on. Slightly undersized, but a good player, big hitter. Doug Nestor. See, he's another guy. I didn't know he didn't go. I think he could be a player. Who else we got? Let's go. I mentioned earlier John Rice Plumlee and Carter Bradley, two quarterbacks that could have gone but didn't. Jack Plummer right behind them throws a really nice deep ball, the Louisville quarterback. Drake Stoops, the legacy kid. I'll tell you what, watched him at the Shrine Bowl practices, and that dude, he can get open, man. Drake Stoops can get open. At least I thought he could. Apparently, the NFL doesn't agree with me. He'll get an invite somewhere. Who else we got? Ron Stone, Washington State, who I mentioned. I would bring him in as a depth piece, as a, developmental guy. And we should be hearing, UDFAs coming in over the next few hours. Jackson Janke, write down that name, Jackson Janke. South Dakota State, 6'5", and he's got really, really good feet. I watched him on a run after the catch, toward the sideline, staying in bounds, tried to leapfrog a defender, didn't quite make it, but it wasn't a little guy. Like, he got up. He's athletic for a 6'5" receiver, but played at South Dakota State. So Jackson Janke, keep an eye on that guy. Jabari Small, didn't realize he didn't go either. Good player. I think he's battled some injuries, so that's probably why he didn't go. Jet Johnson, I mean, his name is Jet, but slow, lumbering middle linebacker, Mississippi State. Don't really see that happening. Omar Speights, linebacker out of LSU, Oregon State transfer. Or I think it was Oregon State. I forget where he transferred from. Who else we got, folks? Who else is jumping? Jason Bean, the quarterback from Kansas, who I'd mentioned. I had a feeling he might not get drafted. And those are the guys on the full list of undrafteds for ESPN that if I were the Jets, would be looking out for. Enjoyed listening the past few days. Rob, thanks so much for checking us out, man. We always appreciate it. Too much light there. We always appreciate it. All you guys. You got a lot of choices, a lot of options, people to sit down with and talk to. We try to keep it fun. Try not to take ourselves too seriously, but we do enjoy this process. And as I've said many times before, the worst time of year for Jets fans is football season. Hopefully that changes soon, and they're at least a competitive football team. Stay healthy this year and win a bunch of games because they've got the talent to do it. This draft as a whole, you got some good players. The two running backs confuses me. The lack of O-line picks confuses me. Giving John Franklin Myers away, I understand why it had to be done, but at the same time, I don't. I mean, you couldn't rework him. You couldn't bring that cap number down and extend him and just give him a new deal. I mean, he signed the new deal with Denver, where he's going to be paid less than he would have been. So I feel like they could have done more to retain him, but he's gone, water under the bridge. Time will tell. Like we say, 3 years for a draft class, right? 3 years to know if guys are hits or misses or whatever it may be. But this one, there were some questions for me. And look, I'm a fan. What do I know, right? We're all just out here talking, guessing, doing what we can, talking football, enjoying ourselves. Let's see. Charles, good evening. Finally got a safety. Safety has some talent. Surprised by the two running backs. I believe this was moved for 2025 draft with a full running back room. Izzy could be using a package to move from the second round next year. Is Izzy going to be around? Listen, I loved Izzy. I was a huge Izzy fan. I think I tweeted some of his highlights out way before the draft. But you got to face reality in this. He might be one and done. He could very well be one and done. To go out and draft right away, to draft a running back, and then the following year you take two more guys in that spot. it would be a shame because Izzy is so explosive. I mean, he really is. I think he's got the ability to be a very good player, but perhaps the Jets don't like his ability to pick up the blitz, and they don't. If they don't feel that he can, if they don't think he's going to get it, and they don't want him to be a liability, and they really, I mean, it is a good thing because part of what made last year so frustrating was for the Jets to say so many times that the reason is he wasn't playing was because his pass pro, he wasn't picking up the blitz. Was Dalvin Cook any good at it? I recall many plays where Dalvin Cook, a seasoned veteran, looked completely lost and got smoked by opposing defenders. So maybe they saw that and said, look, that's one more aspect of our pass pro that really struggled, and let's bring in a guy who excels in that area. And maybe that's what they brought those guys in for, and maybe Izzy is on the way out. There is a chance. There's a chance that they did what they did, keeping in mind, two things to remember: special teams, not just coverage, but return guys. If they think that Davis can be a return guy or a special teamer, we talk about, teams don't carry 4 running backs. Well, sometimes they do when a guy's a special teams ace, right? Like Hardy was a special teams ace. He's listed as a corner, but he never played. Like, you will carry a special teams ace. He might have a position listed next to his name, but in reality, he's your special teams guy. I thought this year would be Irv Charles. That's who the special teams guy would be. Like if somebody were to make the roster without a true position, I thought that might be the case. But maybe Isaiah Davis, I will be watching him extensively as much as I can find in the coming 48 hours. Stiggers is going to be really hard to find stuff on. But like Corley, Allen, Travis, I've watched all those guys extensively. Davis, I've watched a very little bit of more, and I probably with the focus on his running ability more so than his pass blocking. I'm going just out of curiosity. I'm not even sure myself, to be honest. I'm gonna plug in the external here and see if I have anything on Isaiah Davis. I don't think I do, but you never know. Like I said, thousands of clips, hundreds of players. It's possible that I do have something on Isaiah Davis. Now, I think I do. Okay, only a couple. Okay. Listen, it's only one play, but as it came up, I remembered this, and we're talking about him as a blocker. Just it's one play, but it makes me feel better because I forgot I saw this play, forgot I had this play. Watch Isaiah Davis. This is on a quarterback run, and watch him act as a blocker here. Shotgun next to the quarterback. Isaiah Davis, lead blocker, takes out the safety. All it took was one play, and I feel better already. Maybe they view him as a fullback. Maybe they view him, is he big enough to be a fullback? I don't know. But clearly, the blocking is one aspect of it, and I completely forgot I had this play. Let's watch this again. Isaiah Davis out of the backfield, QB run, and just leading the way right up the middle, gets the DB, and paves the way for some extra yards. That you got to love. Let's see what else we have on him. Oh, that's a Greenfield block. Here we go. This is Isaiah Davis again, but with a Greenfield block. I mean, the guy had 1,500 yards. There's no questioning whether or not he can run. But, the question becomes, can he run at the pro level? But that's, okay, here's the block from the other angle. So the question was raised, as I said, on the forums at Jet Nation, is it possible this pick was made with the idea of moving him to fullback and getting rid of Bawden? I'm not sure that's the case, but here he is bouncing it outside, race to the corner, gets there for the touchdown. So Davis, I'm gonna tweet that one out. I completely forgot I had that play. Let's see here. But again, the Braylon Allen one, obviously a fantastic pick. Bear with me 1 second here, folks. There it is. All right. You know, if I knew for sure that these UDFA names were going to start rolling in, I would hang around and talk about the UDFAs. But you just never know. Sometimes they come in within minutes. Sometimes it's an hour. Sometimes they trickle in over the course of a day or two. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes guys say, I'm signing with this team, or there's a rumor that a guy is signing with this team. And then they change their mind. It seems every year there's one guy. It seems every year there's one guy that, you know, you look at who they're signing, you write an article, you put the names on a spreadsheet, and then, you know, rookie camps wrap up, and next thing you see the guy's name pop up as a member of whatever team, and you're like, wait a minute. And because they're UDFAs, it doesn't make big news. So sometimes they just fly under the radar, and that happens. JFM gone opens the door for Will McDonald. Yeah, Rob, they should have needed that though. Carl Lawson leaving, Huff leaving. Those are the guys, because JFM isn't, you know, plays inside and out. Far more athletic. Will be able to do more than JFM did. Well, hopefully as a pass rusher. So I mean, yes, it opens up more snaps, but they'll play a bit of a different role. Yeah, Frankie, the method behind the madness is they needed cap space. They, as it stands right now, well, now they do. Prior to the JFM trade, they did not have enough cap space to sign their draft picks. Getting rid of JFM does that. They were sitting right around 3 million. JFM frees up 7. There's 10 million. That's what you need to sign your rookies. Down the line, they trade Hall. Who, Brees? No. No. And the Jets should start and use him as a trade. JFM was a veteran captain. Yeah, he's a respected guy in the locker room, works hard, you know, doesn't complain. And, you know, I mean, the Jets play him a lot. They pay him a lot. There's not much to complain about. But he's a guy that, like I said, I think fans are going to find out the hard way that the JFM was a very valuable player. Unless, because, you know, having just said that McDonald is going to be more of a pass rusher, one thing I did notice last year, and listen, Will McDonald played 19% of the snaps. There wasn't a lot to notice. But one thing I did see, especially a couple plays against the Giants, deep in Giants territory, held up against the run much better than I thought. Just a couple reps, but you know, there were plays where you thought, okay, the Giants are going to run it here. They're going to try to get out of the shadow of their own goalposts, and I'm thinking like they'd probably run it at McDonald's direction. And at the snap, boom, and he just held up, didn't give, and Jets got a couple of run stops, and I thought, oh, it's only a couple of plays, but with his build, he's a little bit lanky, and, you know, pass rush specialist. Didn't expect much from him against the run, and he did well. He hung in there. Justin Simmons, listen, a lot of us talked about Justin Simmons when he was let go. That's a guy the Jets should pursue, this, that, and the other. And obviously didn't happen, at least up to this point. I would love to have him on board. Let's see if I have anything on Jalen Key as well while we're here getting ready to wrap things up. Because, like I said, I don't see them making a move. Or sorry, I don't know when the UDFAs are going to start rolling out. Let's take a look. Yeah. Joe Douglas says the Jets are excited about adding competition to the running back room. Let's see here. Daniel Jeremiah tweet. Oh, here we go. Xavier Johnson to the Bills, Ohio State wide receiver. Let's see. So let's tweet out a few names here. So hang with me here. I'll read off some of these names again, and maybe you guys can get familiar with a few folks that you're not familiar with at this time. So we're gonna Baylor DT Gabe Hall, Miami O lineman, and again, interior O lineman Javion Cohen, and he had a good week in Mobile too. We noticed him down there. He was one of those guys didn't stand out in that he was doing a ton of incredible stuff, but you just kind of notice after a while that guy's always just in the right spot, never getting beat or not getting beat. Not that I saw him, because of course you can't watch every single player on every single play when you're down in Mobile because there's a million of them. There's a lot going on. Miami DT Leonard Taylor. He was a guy that I think a lot of folks thought was going to get drafted. I thought he'd get picked, but didn't happen. Who else we got? We got Knox. Let's see. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint. That his the fact that he didn't go, I thought was pretty surprising. Well, I shouldn't say surprising. It's his he had a terrible pro day. He ran like 4.7 something, which was wild because he scored the big touchdown on the Senior Bowl. Never dropped the pass. He played in Georgia. Never dropped the pass. You just thought he was going to be a draftable player, and then he runs that 4.8 or 4.7, whatever it was. There's certain limits that teams aren't going to tolerate, or the teams aren't going to look at you if you run in those ranges, and that's one of them. How many should we go here? I don't want to put 50 names. We'll be a little more. Again, we're not putting any running backs. Slovis. UNCDT Miles Murphy, who I mentioned earlier. Again, with that JFM move, I think it's important they grab somebody. A lot of folks, a lot of names. So, what are we thinking in the chat? We got anything going on? Anyone have questions, thoughts? Let's see. Charles, what do they got? Oh, hang on. Let's see. Not mad. Could you see Hall getting traded? No. Now all this running back they have, I would imagine Izzy's gone. Or they view one of these guys as a fullback or strictly a special teamer. Like you showed the last couple days with extra draft capital, maybe there's a trade for a vet. Cortland Sutton could really help his team. Malachi Corley was a great pickup. JFM was a big loss. Totally agree, Charles. Clemens is a consideration to start. That's the thing. Maybe they feel like Clemens is ready to step up. I said when the trade happened that's more reps for Clemens. It's more reps for McDonald. Clemens, up to this point, though, he's been solid against the run, but he's been underwhelming, or just maybe not as good as I thought he was going to be. So we'll see. Penn State corner. Where did he go? Johnny Dixon. And yeah, let's see. Michigan. Any other names coming across the wire as signing? Let's take a look. No, just the one Bills signing so far. Let's see. Oh, and there you go. There's some breaking news for us, folks. Joe Douglas confirms, no surprise here, really, even with the injuries. Joe Douglas confirms the team will be picking up Elijah Vera Tucker's fifth-year option. You had to do it. Too good of a player, too high character, high caliber player. Even with the injuries, can't let him walk out the door. So that's great to hear. AVT not going anywhere anytime soon. And that's listen, you got to have these guys to build around. The injuries are frustrating, but you don't let somebody like that walk out the door. There's the Kalen DeLoach. Doug Nestor, I think, again, power scheme. I would bring Doug Nestor in for sure. Carter Bradley, like I thought he had a good week in Mobile. I think he deserved to be drafted. Who else do we have? I'm going a little crazy with the names here. I don't want to put 1,000 names. Ron Stone, Washington State, who I mentioned. And we're on the final page here. Let's see if anyone jumps out. We'll say, again, even though, let's see, South Dakota State. Janke and Tennessee running back Jabari Small. I think that was everybody, right? We'll throw Jason Bean on there. All right. Lots of names, but you know what? There's about 1,000 guys, and the Jets are going to bring in some. We don't know how many, but the AVT news is good news. Let's edit that to some potential. Okay, great. So there we have it. The draft is a wrap. UDFA's underway. Hopefully some names start rolling in for those. Let me know in the chat. Is there anyone I didn't mention as a UDFA that folks like? Here's the list I'll read off that I just tweeted out. Longer than last year's list, but I think I was a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I watched a bit more. Got around to watching more games this year, but there's the list I went with. Baylor DT Gabe Hall, Miami offensive lineman Javian Cohen, Maryland safety Bo Braid, Miami DT Leonard Taylor. And listen, I'm not saying bring all of these guys in. I'm just saying here are some guys the Jets should consider. Illinois tackle Julian Pearl. Well, we'll call him Illinois offensive lineman. Houston edge Nelson Caesar. Illinois D lineman Keith Randolph. Utah offensive lineman Keaton Bills. Michigan lineman Carson Barnhart. BYU QB Keaton Slovis. North Carolina DT Miles Murphy. Mississippi State's LaDietrich Griffin, wide receiver. Penn State corner Johnny Dixon. FSU linebacker Kalen DeLoach. West Virginia interior offensive lineman Doug Nestor. UCF quarterback John Rice Plumlee. University of South Alabama quarterback Carter Bradley. Washington State defensive end Ron Stone. South Dakota State wide receiver Jackson Janke. Tennessee running back Jabari Small. And Kansas quarterback Jason Bean. There are others, but there's no point in sending out a list with 85 names on it. That was just kind of popping through what was up there on the on the screen, and gonna watch some Jalen Key tonight as well. Yeah, Charles. I think we're all glad that AVT is coming back. Pick up the 5th-year option. It's the right thing to do. Let's see. So this is on Key. Transferred to Alabama from University of Alabama, Birmingham. Became a starter. 1 pick, 60 tackles. Key might have a shot at sticking the pros. Yeah, well, we'll see. Long shot, but it is a position of need. It is, like I said, a little bit of a surprise. I think somebody like Keaton Bills in that spot, or Javian Cohen, somebody like that, would have had a much better opportunity to make the final roster. And be a contributor. If you go out, you get an O lineman from a major program with lots of experience, then maybe you have a shot. But it is what it is. The Jets did what they did. The 2 running back thing is always going to be confusing until it plays out. Let it play out and see what the plan is. If they already know they're dumping Izzy Abanikanda, then it is, that'll be a tough one for me because I'm a big Izzy guy. But if they let him go, they let him go, and you move on. Let's see. Okay, nice. And we'll see what the Jets do from here. You got yourself a franchise tackle. You got yourself a receiver in Corley whose game fits perfectly with what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. And you go from there. UDFAs will be rolling in. Probably what we might do as the UDFA names come in, maybe tomorrow morning. Well, I don't even know what time it is. What is it? Okay, it's almost 1 a.m. Probably early morning my time, UK time, late US time. I'll hop on and throw out any thoughts on UDFAs that may or may not come in. There will be some, and we'll have more to share. Thanks for coming back and checking us out for this final leg of the draft marathon, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good one, Jets fans.